interesting one. I didn't know about his career,
Yeah.
but because I see him all the time on ESPN and Fox Sports 1, and he looks like a normal individual as compared to when he played soccer.
He wasn't.
Back in the day. No? Open wide for some soccer! That's right, everybody. We're here at the Sports Experience Podcast, going to talk about some soccer and not Arriaga. Arriaga 2, Bariaga, Pizzozza. No, we're talking about some good old US of A soccer here today. Getting a little patriotic. I'm Dom DiTolla, your co-host with my co-host Chris Quinn, and let's just dive right in.
Yeah, we're just going to get right into it. I liked this guy because of how influential he was on the American game.
Yeah.
So,
definitely
a lot of
character.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff he kind of was first, and he was behind the scenes and involved in it, and we'll talk about it. But who we're talking about right now, Alexi Lalas.
Alexi Lalas,
the '94 World Cup star, and that was kind of his peak. And
it came at an important time because
man.
America's hosting the World Cup. People are like, what is this sport? And it's like Robin Williams, a strange sport played by damaged people.
Well, it's interesting because he really is in every facet of the game. So after his playing career, he gets into the general manager president, and now he's one of my absolute favorite commentators because he just rips people. If he doesn't think you're hustling out there or whatever he doesn't, he's just ripping people.
He's got that old man anger from a commentator.
Oh, 100%.
That's not the way it's supposed to be played.
Well, it's this ex-player thing that I think American soccer sports was missing on their commentators, of guys just being like, no, that's not the way it should go.
Well, and I think it's important is because he played soccer at a time in this country where it finally, I guess, started to grow.
Yes.
I think he feels pride and almost responsibility to be hey, don't fuck up what I tried to build.
Well, that's the thing, is they really laid this foundation that is now people are reaping the benefits for.
Oh, totally. I mean, and especially in a day with CTE and everything, more people are being soccer, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, born Panayotis Alexander Lalas, June 1st, 1970.
I don't know if you could tell his father was Greek.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a super plate-breaking name right there, if I've ever heard one. Born in Birmingham, Michigan, which is outside of Detroit. Dad was Greek, obviously. Professor, and was later, in charge of Greece's National Observatory.
Yeah.
It says his mom was a poet, which will kind of come into play in his off-field activities as far as his hobbies. One thing I found interesting was he speaks English and Greek, obviously, but also Italian and Spanish.
Yes.
I found that pretty fascinating about him.
Well, you see this with a lot of these international soccer players, is they really have they're multilingual because they really, really need to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, no other choice. I mean, if you want to play in a better professional league than the MLS, not to sneeze at the MLS, but if you want to go play in Europe and you're not playing in the EPL, it might do you some good to know some languages.
Yeah. So this is what I found really interesting. He started playing when he was about 11. So he didn't play soccer until he was about 11, 12.
Yeah, but he was a good hockey player.
But he was a great
that I loved.
Youth hockey player throughout his whole time. But what we see later, so he was predominantly a hockey player throughout high school.
Yeah, he was captain of his high school hockey team, which in Michigan, hockey is pretty goddamn popular.
Yes.
Especially outside Detroit.
And what was interesting was I think he tried to make it in a juniors and that they denied him. So they said he really wasn't good enough to make it on that next level of hockey, which then
motivated him to play soccer.
Motivated him to go to Rutgers and play soccer.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was 1987 Michigan High School Player of the Year at Cranbrook High School. Goes to Rutgers. I always laugh when I hear Rutgers because it's the State University of New Jersey, and it's just a way of churching it up. It's like, don't say it's in New Jersey. Don't. People are going to figure it out. Just say Rutgers.
Just say Rutgers.
Say Rutgers.
Once they get here, then we'll tell them.
But he played on the hockey team at Rutgers too,
yes.
Which, I think they're a Division I squad for hockey. I mean, it's not like a club sport like it is at U of A. I mean, that's like a varsity sport.
Yeah.
But soccer, this is where he makes his bones, and this is where he starts, really breaking out.
Well, they can see him excelling as this center back because I hate to say it, but the formations back then in United States soccer were very inconsistent.
Okay.
So he was like this sweeper single back when we really should have been running 4 across the back instead of 3.
Okay.
And why he was so good was he really understood how to and when to attack the ball. And they were saying that it really came from his hockey.
I was just gonna say, like, hockey probably played a role into that because it's very similar.
I saw a quote from like I think it was his Rutgers coach that was like, we were so lucky to get this hockey player to come over and switch to soccer because he already understood the momentum of the game. And it was just like, oh, okay, that's why he picked it up so quickly.
Yeah. Like, how crazy must that have been, though, to go like from the ice where you're legally allowed to deck the shit out of people, and then in soccer with so much flopping, like you can't touch or manhandle anybody. But
trust me, if you watch Alexi Lalas, he was not touch player. He was absolutely
that's what I mean.
Clearing
is
people
like
out.
That's what I mean. It's like that toughness comes in, and it's like, oh, he's our enforcer too. He does like 9 different things for us.
So I want to say in Rutgers, they went to the Final Four in '89,
correct,
and then they went to the championship game in '90. And what they were saying was he was this cog in this machine that you absolutely need in this defense.
Oh, absolutely. And in '91, he's named first team All-American, and then he led the team in scoring in 1989 in hockey.
Yep.
Like, this is just a badass.
Yeah.
And you see this all the time in these episodes when we talk about these athletes. They're always cross-training with something else, it seems. Like, up until they make that ultimate choice.
It always benefits them.
Yeah. They're like, everyone wants to funnel a kid into one sport. It's like, no. You can different sports, different seasons. Find what you like.
Find what you like. And I found it interesting because actually I think this is where he went and tried out to be a hockey player, and they told him no.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but, he's still got soccer in his back pocket.
Well, and then this is where, so I think he went both ways, because in '92, he went and had a tryout with Arsenal because he was training with Bob McNabb, who was like a scout for Arsenal. And he was training with him, and Bob thought that he had enough potential. He went to Arsenal, and I think they had him for like 3 days, and they were just like, nah, you're garbage.
Oh,
like
that
they were
sucks, dude.
so confident that because Americans at this point especially didn't have the fundamental skills that all other players had just like growing up playing it. So like his ball touch wasn't anywhere near anybody else's. Like he really was sloppy as shit with it compared to other first league teams.
Arsenal is like one of the top teams, right?
It was probably one of the worst tryouts because he really should have
he just fucking blew it.
And he really should have went to a lesser team.
Yeah,
because,
like whatever they call Division II. I know we've talked about this before. Yeah,
or a lesser league. So we see this in the 2000s where a lot of Americans come up through the Dutch league. We see Josie Altidore come up through that because it's not as competitive in. Like, I don't want to talk shit on the Dutch league. It's absolutely wonderful. But
the talent level doesn't match the other
It's
league.
almost a feeder league.
Yeah, which is
fine.
Fine and dandy. I mean, and hey, if you have these guys who need to refine their skills, what better place to do it before they're ready to go? And they get bought out, and these Dutch teams make a shit ton of money probably from selling them.
Outside of Ajax, who we've talked about before, they're the only team that really goes and plays and is meaningful in Europe.
Well, that's Johan Cruyff's baby.
Oh, yeah. And you still see the fruit that they're getting off of that. But so he gets denied right away from Arsenal, and he goes back to Michigan, and he makes this he has this couple of months of really reflecting and being like, am I going to be a professional sports person? Because he thought hockey for a second, and then he thought soccer for a second, and he really was like, I think this is it for me.
And that has to be so, not necessarily soul crushing, but just man, you got to look inward. And sometimes when you do that, it's scary.
Oh,
to
man,
be am I good enough? Can I do it?
It's rocky up in that snow, man. It's,
man, right.
But just to put a time frame on this is midway through 92.
Yeah.
The World Cup's in 94.
Yeah.
So like he's debating whether he's going to play soccer ever again professionally.
But it said he played in the 92 Summer Olympics.
Oh yes, he did.
Yeah.
But this is the beginning of 92.
Yeah.
Right towards when he says that he wants to get back into it, that's when the national team came calling because they knew that he was a great player. And the Olympics is not like the World Cup, so you can't have...
Yeah, you have to, because it said he was named as like one of the older players. It's generally younger dudes.
So
right?
I think it's 22 and younger, and then you can have 3 senior players. It's something like that. So it's not first team.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's like basketball before the dream team.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how they set it up. So
which is what the Olympics kind of should be. But
yes,
the dream team was so awesome.
Oh no, it was so much fun.
Yeah, but it said makes the national team. Play, and then by 94 he's starting to shine a little bit.
Well, 90, this is what I wanted to get to. So 92 he's thinking about quitting. The summer of 92 right before it, they go out and they're like, you should be on this team, and he really plays well with these young kids.
Yeah.
And then in 93 they really start putting him into the friendlies. So there's really not a lot of friendlies that these international teams play. They play 10 friendlies leading up to it. So I think he played like 5 or 6, but they were like, he showed him like, I'm solid back here. You're not going to have to worry about it. 94 comes up and there's no question as to who is our defender.
Yeah. And he's like the most recognizable player because long red hair, long red goatee,
6'3", and he's really turned into this enforcer in this back line.
And to me, you don't see a lot of soccer players who are that tall. It's generally guys not like as small as Messi or like Maradona, but it's guys who are like 5'10".
Well, so it's positional.
Oh,
and
it is. Interesting.
You see it in center backs. You'll see a center back be anywhere from like 6'2" to 6'5".
No shit.
And you see them lining up against these forwards on like a corner kick, and they're just like 3-4 inches taller than them. They're just like, yeah, you're not going to win a header.
Oh,
and that's kind of why, because their on ball accuracy isn't as necessarily important as their like physical presence.
Yeah.
And that's what Alexi Lalas was for that United States team. He was the defender, like it was in this 94 World Cup, which what I was saying, why he was so influential was the 94 World Cup was in America. This was like when soccer kind of became what it is.
Soccer was basically exported to America.
Exactly.
Because like it seemed before that, when we talked about Cruyff or even like someone like Pelé coming here at a stage in their careers where it's just completely, past the prime of their careers.
We see that at this point, the United States doesn't even have a professional league. So the league that Cruyff and Pelé were in actually folded like 20
ago. Yeah.
So that's how unpopular soccer kind of was at that time. But then this 94 World Cup team really shot that fucking adrenaline into everybody's arm and being like, oh, here we go, because it was so fun to watch him and Miola in goal and Ramos and this team that was just like a really good team that shouldn't have been.
Hey, everybody. Just want to take a quick break to let you know that our Sports Experience podcast is brought to you by Engle Studio here, and they're here in Tucson for all your recording needs. And they did well enough by American standards for soccer to be like, hey, this could take off.
Well, we made it. We make it out of the group stage.
Yeah.
We beat Colombia, and we're gonna have an episode about that 94 World Cup, and I don't want to get too into that, but we make it out of the group stage, and we end up losing to Brazil 1-0 in the first round of knockouts. But they go on.
Brazil
to win.
won the shebang. Yes. Yeah, they won the whole thing. Yeah.
So it's like, and they were saying like, even Brazilians were saying like that United States team had something else, like playing in front of our home crowd and all of that shit. Because the thing that kind of reverberates from that was like they were not skilled players. Yeah. They were just like hard nosed, just like I'm going to beat you at every 50-50 tackle, and that's how we progressed that one time.
Grindy team is
Exactly.
what they were, yeah. Please tell me that was the World Cup where Maradona got popped for that ephedrine, where he looked like he was like possessed.
No, that
after he
was
scored the goal.
in Mexico.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
all right.
not in. No, Maradona was done by that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that when yeah, him looking into the camera, Maradona looking into the camera and yelling. You're just like, wow, that guy's on drugs. Woo!
Which drugs we don't know, but back to Alexi Lalas here.
So the '94 World Cup was so important to establishing soccer in the United States that we see the MLS start to form.
Yeah, oddly enough, and we had talked about him in our AFL episode and even in that, I think, Christmas Day game, Lamar Hunt, the Chiefs owner, was a huge backer of the MLS.
Yes.
Yeah.
He saw that there was potential for it.
Yeah, definitely. And because of his World Cup performance, Alexi gets a shot with a European team.
All right, so he's the first American player ever to play in Italy. So to play in the Serie A. He gets, let me see what the Italian team was, because they're not. Padova. In 95. And he has an okay, so he signs with them, and he has it, because obviously he didn't even have a club.
Yeah.
He has an okay stint, and then the MLS comes up. So it's 95. The MLS is like, hey, we're going to form this league. We want all of our national players to play in this league.
And they were like almost AFLing it or ABAing it.
They did.
And WHA, like putting players in cities and like dispersal drafts and shit like that.
One of my favorite stories from that is everybody got a designated player, quote unquote, except for the Dallas Burn, and nobody knows why.
Interesting. Dallas Burn. You know what it probably is? Lamar Hunt was pissed at Dallas.
Maybe.
That's
where I was going
thinking,
to there.
Like,
because everybody got to, not to pick, but they kind of randomized the national team and spread it out, and everybody got them except for Dallas.
Interesting.
So,
forcing him out of the Cotton Bowl. All right.
So in 95, he's playing in Italy, and MLS as a organization comes into this Italian team and buys him for this season that's supposed to start in 95.
But it doesn't happen.
They make a realization. They're like, we're not starting in 95. So they loan him right back to the Italian. And he plays. That was the thing, was he was playing okay. And really not the style, though.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. He really should have went to like Germany or a more hard-nosed. Like the Italian style is more fluid.
Finesse almost.
If you mess up that pass, even if you're a center back, it's like everyone's like, "What are you doing?" So
Malone, come on.
Yes, exactly.
Fucking Chitrul, come on.
So finally, in '96, the MLS are like, "All right, we're gonna start up for realsies this time."
For realsies. Like, we're a league now, guys.
Yeah.
We're not loaning guys back to their European or wherever clubs.
Quit making fun of us.
Yeah.
So he goes to the New England Revolution, and has okay. Like, this is the thing that is so interesting about the beginning years of the MLS was the talent was so sparse that singular improvements wouldn't improve teams. Like Alexi Lalas going to this New England Revolution wasn't going to make them like a dominant team, because it just like throughout their ranks was not that great.
Well, how the hell are you going to get talent when the top talent's playing in Europe?
And they weren't poaching South America at that point.
Oh, interesting.
So they were trying to just like look for Americans, and just like it wasn't a very well constructed league.
That mid-90s, that's not a good strategy.
No, it was really wasn't. And you could see the quality was low, but it started to it would get better every year. Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It said he was traded to the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars in 98.
Who are now the New York Red Bulls.
That's great.
Yeah. He actually, that's what I love about American sports is like he went and was training with this club, which guys do in like the off season. And he came back, and he was like, the day he came back, they're like, "Hey, you're traded." And he was like, "What?" Just like, "Yeah, you're traded to New York. See ya." And that's just the way American sports are.
Pack your shit.
Pack your shit. Yep.
Yep.
Did not do very well. And it wasn't that he didn't do very well, but the teams weren't very well. Metro Stars were okay at that point.
Yeah.
Kansas City Wizards have always been horrible. I forget who they are now, but they're...
But that's where he was traded after the Metro Stars. And then said he went to the Galaxy.
Well, so in '99 he went to the Kansas City Wizards, and there was a report that came out later in his career that said he was done playing for shitty teams. So in '99 he retires.
Huh.
And then in 2001, I believe, in 2001, he signs with the LA Galaxy, because the LA Galaxy was like, hey, at this point, we're like one of the only franchises that really is focusing in on winning.
Was that the team that Beckham went to when he came here?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just curious.
I know. That's the best part of this. That's why he's so influential to the U.S. game, is he's got his fingers in all of it.
Yeah.
So he goes to the LA Galaxy, and this is where LA Galaxy, they're a good team. So I think they have Donovan when he was younger. And just like they're starting to show that MLS can kind of produce. And Alexi Lalas plays a good amount for 3 years, but not all the time, if that makes sense. Like he's definitely in the twilight of his career at this point.
Yeah, mid-30s now. Come on.
So in 2004, he retires for good from soccer.
But he doesn't leave soccer.
But then he becomes the president of the San Jose Earthquakes, which was always my fucking favorite team name. It's like, yeah, people are dying from that. Let's be the San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah, right? Let's call us the San Jose San Andreas.
Yeah, exactly. And he's general manager and president from 2004 2005, and then he goes to the Metro Stars, who I think he was one of the influential guys to get the Red Bull
it's like sponsorship for the
sponsorship.
team name.
So
Okay.
there's a Germany team that has that too. They're the
Interesting
RB Red Bulls or whatever the fuck they
RB.
are. Yeah,
Arby's.
I forget what their real thing is, but
For the love of God, Arby's sponsor something
Yes,
sports related.
it's
I would
RB,
just.
but yes.
Oh man,
not-
please.
get in it.
The Arby's big beef and cheddars. The Arby's Jamocha shakes. Oh, please.
The fucking players out there just fucking holding their chest,
Just like all fucking fat as shit.
Yep.
No, they're not even running. They're on rascals playing soccer. God.
Come on, Arby's, find that sponsorship.
Sorry, I went off the deep end.
I
there.
loved it. So then he that was the thing, was he's the president, general manager at these clubs for a couple of years and then kind of leaves. And then finally he becomes the president of the LA Galaxy, and he's that for 2006 to 2008, where they brought Beckham.
Okay.
So
right.
he was
all comes back around.
He
All
was
right.
the big person going like, no, we really need this name to come in, like Pele back in the day,
Yeah.
to just bring other names in. And that's, I mean,
just to be like, oh, they play soccer here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because that was a lot of the talk, was like, we could pay people what they're asking. They're just not interested to come and play in our league.
Yeah.
So that's what Beckham really did, was he showed these, I guess, retiring stars that like, you can come here and play for like 3 or 4 years and make what you were making.
You can make bank and also be treated like royalty. Like Drogba played in the MLS.
Yeah,
Like we had talked about
Drogba,
before.
Kaká, there were so many that came after Beckham, and hopefully Messi. That's what I'm hoping for in like 3 or 4 years.
Oh man, that'd be cool.
But that's the window that this opened, and that's why I thought that Alexi Lalas was so important to everything that has to do with American men's soccer. It was because he's pretty much been involved since like it really started to get popular again.
Well, he's involved since its inception. I mean, like, were they even making World Cups prior to '94? The U.S. team.
I don't think we made it in. I think we made it in '90. I don't think we made it in '86.
Okay.
So like, and we were dregs. We were.
Yeah, I know. Obviously,
We would get just trounced by Mexico, and we were pretty much at the same level as like Canada back then, because it wasn't looked at as a sport that we were putting shit into. You know.
Well, there's really only one sport in Canada.
That's
so,
true.
I mean,
that's why
honest. Yeah.
that's why soccer has stayed the exact same in Canada for like all these years. they have a great like 2 or 3 guys, but
Yeah.
everybody else is like wouldn't even make second division teams.
Hey, don't use your hands, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Like one
We'll
of
get
those.
some sticks out here.
How come we're playing on grass? Shouldn't this be ice?
Should we wait for this grass to freeze over?
I'm gonna go to the poutine guy there in section 2.
Poutine just never sounded good.
Arby's, you have marketing opportunities in Canada. Do it. Make it happen. Curly fry that shit up now.
Curly fry that poutine up. All right, just to put a little bow on this Alexi Lalas episode. Yeah, like I was saying, we just got off the deep end there, which I loved.
Oh, Jesus.
He was so influential to the whole U.S. soccer team. He was the 95 Soccer Athlete of the Year. And for me, he's my absolute favorite commentator.
I've been watching some of those clips. He does not pussyfoot around anything.
No,
He'll just go after it.
The thing that I love about it is he's not wrong. He's not up there like just talking shit. He's like, no, this is what needs to happen if we're going to win games.
Yeah, he's not like bloviating like some retard like Stephen A. Smith. He's just like, this is what's wrong with soccer, you assholes.
Yeah, no, that's why he's my favorite, and he was my favorite player back in '94 because of his look mainly.
Yeah. Well, what was I going to say? I watched some of those interviews. I guess the U.S. missed the World Cup, the last World Cup. Like they had lost to like a Central American country or something with like zero GDP.
In 2017.
Yeah. And he was just like, everything needs to change, and here's why.
Yep. And he called out all these players that people weren't really calling out because there are new stars. And it's like, if you're not going to beat, I think it was Ecuador, if you're not going to beat this team,
like
then
Nicaragua or some shit.
Then you don't deserve to go to the 2020 World Cup.
Well, I liked what he talked about was saying, like, back in the day, we would have killed for the opportunities that you have, all of the resources that you have, everything all the money and stuff that's been poured into this sport. We would have killed for that. And imagine what we could have done with something like that. That it almost became lazy and fallow and just let it get away.
Well, and there's less interest, I feel like, in the international game.
Yeah,
unfortunately, and this goes across almost all nations. It's hard to get guys on the same page with the limited amount of time you have with them. Yeah, and my favorite thing that ever was said about Alexi Lalas. My wife was watching the Brazilian World Cup, and he's up there just commentating, and she goes, "That guy looks like a wizard dressed in human clothes." And I said, yeah, let me show you a picture of him in the 94 World Cup. And she just goes, yeah, that's a wizard. 100%.
He wasn't born in Michigan. He was born in Mordor.
Exactly. All right. We're the Sports Experience Podcast. That was Alexi Lalas. Thank you all. Hey, everybody. This is just a stock message at the end of every episode. We hope you enjoyed whatever athlete and or team that episode was about. Just want to say, give us a quick follow on all social media. We have a YouTube channel, the Sports Experience Podcast, and we're on Instagram, DiTolla Dominic, and myself, Quinn Comedy. So give us a follow all around. We're always recording right here at Engle Studio. Thank you all very much.